July Mountain Monday, and I'm so glad it's nice and sunny today. But at least it's not raining, and it's nice out in the shade too. So we're going to do a couple of things. We'll get them going, and then we're going to taste them at the end. I love cooking outside. I think all of you know that, and that's really why I like going camping, is so I get to cook outside.
They love the cook period, don't they?
Well, yeah, I
Admit
do.
it. I do. Such great.
Let's see. Of course, we have to talk about some important things. First, we're going to let our charcoal burn down some. I've got my cold ingredients in the refrigerator, so I'm going to run and get those when we're ready. Because keeping those foods safe in the summer is really important. So family meal times. Cooking and eating outdoors is a way that you can spend some more time with your family, and it doesn't matter how big or small your family is. And family, to me, is a very loose term. Family is just that group of people that you enjoy spending time with, plus those ones you're related to by blood too, whether you enjoy spending time with them or not. But you got your family there. And there is so much research that shows that social meals, family meal time, and then as we get older, meals that we spend with a friend group really are important to our health, our mental health. For kids, the research shows that they will make better grades and be less likely to become involved with the law later on. And with us, I'm not going to use the word senior, even though I am the speed limit now. I just turned 55. As we get older, there's a lot of research that shows that if we eat social meals with other people, that our physical and mental health is better, just because we are eating with others. Now, there are reasons. It's because you're more likely. Now, if nobody's watching me, I might just eat that chocolate cake for a meal and call that dinner. But you know, you're more likely to eat a variety of healthier foods if you're eating in a group. And so family meal time, however your family is structured, is really important. So there's some more research on it. Okay.
My sister, she went to meet with my doctor in Lexington, and when I came out, she said, what was the tell you? So I said, well, he told me that I was 80 years old and go ahead and eat what I wanted to. And you know what she said? I never go to that doctor again, because you have to eat at 80. So I said, yeah, she was really upset with that doctor. Because telling me to eat anything I want.
Well, it seems like you're doing pretty good.
So, in Arthur Ashcraft, he said, sometimes talking about his age, he said, now people, the Lord don't quit working at 65, so you gotta work on.
But there's plenty more. There are lots of references there if you'd like to read more about that. And then there's so many different ways that you can cook outside. I did not drag all my stuff up here with me. I have a shed down at the end of the wood center that's just piled up with different outdoor cooking equipment things. But here's just a list of some ways that you can cook. There are no cook meals, you know. We can have a sandwich, a salad. We don't have to do any real cooking. We can do stick cooking. Of course, the very favorite stick cooking dish in the world is s'mores. And since we were having a cake tonight, I didn't bring my s'more stuff too. It was really hard for me to not get that bag of chocolate bars out. But we can cook sausage links. You can cook hot dogs. You can. There are different variations of stick cooking. You can cook canned biscuits. You get a fat stick and wrap the end with aluminum foil, and then press that canned biscuit around that, and you have to be patient. Toast that over the coals, and then you can fill up the middle with chocolate pudding and whipped cream. It's really good. Then there are pie irons that are a purchased method of stick cooking, and they have cast iron or aluminum square around on the end. Do you remember those? We had some in Girl Scouts, Virginia, I don't know. But, and you can put a quick pie just made out of 2 slices of buttered bread and some canned pie filling in the middle and toast that over cookies.
What about your biscuit?
Okay. All right, so the biscuit you want a fat stick, not a little skinny one. And then wrap aluminum foil about this far down on the stick. And then your canned biscuits, you can either roll it out into a snake and sort of wrap it around there. The thinner and more even that you have that dough pressed around the end of that stick, the better it'll cook.
And then you hold it over.
Coals, and you just keep turning it nice and slow until it's brown.
So just going to put the biscuit dough down the stick.
Right.
Not take it as it is and stick the stick in it.
No.
Okay.
And so, you know, you can, I sort of like to get it about this much covered with aluminum foil and then pat the dough out. And that's then there are such a thing as a squirrel cooker, which is a modified stick cooking, and that is Civil War era, and it is just 2 wrought iron pieces that hook together, and you put it in the ground by your fire, and it makes just a little spit, and perfect size for a squirrel or a rabbit, and you can turn that, the end of that wrought iron rod, and make a nice crispy squirrel. It also works for other foods. You don't have to catch a squirrel to do it. But it was popular at that time because they took those 2 metal pieces apart and they could just roll them up in their bedroll and put it on the back of their horse and there they go. So then if they were hunting whatever they could find, then that was a quick way to cook it. There you can make a hobo stove or a tin can stove just out of, well, that was back in the days when you could get coffee in a metal can. Now it's plastic. But you can find other ones and just make a quick little hobo stove. There are sterno stoves that are purchased in the camping. Look through the camping section. There's all kinds of neat things there. And then we get to, the pie pan oven. You just use 2 metal pie pans and you can make your own improvised Dutch oven. Then we get to the things that are sort of bigger, and that's our Dutch ovens and the box oven that we're going to use today. And we're going to do some great cooking today. G-R-A-T-E, not G-R-E-A-T. Hopefully it'll be that too. With a foil pouch dinner. Now I love foil pouch dinners because there's no dishes when you get them. So that's easy. And then the metal grate that's behind the little fire pit, you can put just regular pots and pans on that and cook over the fire pit. There are propane stoves, there are butane camping stoves. You can make an aluminum can stove out of a soda can and put denatured alcohol in it and make a very free and easy little burner there. Or you can buy some very expensive backpacking cooking systems that do the same thing. Alright, so you can cook just about any way that you want to, and you can cook anything outside that you can cook inside. You just figure out what method of cooking isn't inside, and then you'll know how to replicate that outside. You can't really replicate a microwave oven, but just about any other way of cooking you can. So, our food safety tips there: make sure that you keep hot foods hot, cold foods cold, and keep everything clean. In the summer, the temperatures really are conducive to bacteria growing in our food. So, the rest, yes, ma'am.
I have a question that's slightly related. How far away from the house should your grill be if you're out on the deck, out the door?
Well, it depends on what's your grill.
I'm talking about a gas grill.
Okay. Well, I like to put it as far away as is practical. That's contained and what's your house made of. Mine is vinyl siding, so if I keep that grill up close to my vinyl siding, it's going to get hot enough to melt it. So I don't want it that close. And I'm not going to give you a number. I'll tell you that my back deck, you've seen it, my back deck is not very big, and we drag the grill over toward the center of that when we're cooking it. So that's getting it maybe 6 feet away from the house, and we don't leave it unattended.
Our house is wood.
So you don't have to worry about it melting, but you have to worry about flame. So I'm getting to it. but people do cook successfully on their wooden decks. Really just paying attention is the most important thing. As my mother set her kitchen on fire just with about 2 tablespoons of bacon grease in a skillet. So you wouldn't think that you could set your whole kitchen on fire with that, but she did. She went outside to sweep the porch and forgot that she had the pan on. And so then she went to do something else, with the flower bed or something else, and just got distracted. Thankfully, it didn't burn up the whole house. I did put a note there about solar cooking, and Chet was saying that about solar cooking. Solar cooking is really good in some other places. It's not ideal for Kentucky because of the humidity. We have so much moisture in the air. We have so much shade, which is a good thing. But for successful solar cooking, you want to have direct sunlight and real dry air. Make that work really well. Okay, I think I've talked just about long enough, and now we need to get going. I'm going to grab my cold groceries out of the refrigerator. That's our cake. Are you filming that way? I'll turn around. And everybody's going to have to help with this in a minute. So I'm just using, this is just a regular box cake mix. We're going to follow the instructions with what we're going to add to it. So the box says we need a cup of water. Half a cup of vegetable oil. And 3 eggs. And these eggs did not travel very far to get here. The chicken coop is down behind the barn, and we checked with the nice shells. We checked with the egg people to find the food safety procedures for being able to use them to serve to the public. So they have done that. And I don't know what kinds of chickens they are. I don't know if Josh knows.
No, I don't.
But they're 2 different kinds, and I don't know if all of these eggs came from the same hens, or if they're a mixture. So we're gonna triple bag this. Try to get as much of the air out as we can. And I may have to ask you to stand up, please. Nathan, are you ready? We're going to throw this cake.
Throw it.
We're going to throw it because it needs to slosh. It needs to slosh around to mix it up. Yeah. Now, while you all are doing that, I'll work on getting the rest of our cake together. Yep, throw it.
Oh gosh. Are you ready, Santa?
Oh!
Glad that wasn't me.
So we're getting some physical activity here as well as mixing up our cake.
That's real work our
Well, what's that, butter?
Yes.
It's getting thin now.
We're gonna make a pineapple upside down cake. And a cake that has a syrup bottom to it is really good for when you're first learning about cooking over charcoal or baking outside. Because if we've got that sort of syrup layer, it'll help keep us from scorching the bottom of our cake.
So it won't burn?
Right.
I had a bad experience recently trying to cook carrots on top of the stove, and I used some brown sugar, and
You think she can throw better
I
than you?
can't explain it. It's got chewy, hard.
Okay. So the brown sugar actually it candied it.
Yeah,
It went beyond caramelized.
yeah.
So maybe try adding the sugar toward the end of the cooking instead of
And not so
at the
hot?
beginning. Yeah, not so
Okay,
hot heat.
okay.
How's it look, Jet?
Pretty good.
Looking good?
Keep going. I'm not going to let you all out that easy with it.
What we've all been waiting for.
Yep. And it's okay, isn't it?
The mixing didn't it?
Yeah. Martha, it's fail proof.
That's why you triple bag it, right?
That's why you triple bag it. Now you remember how a traditional pineapple upside down.
Do you play softball? What do you put on the bottom butter?
So I've got a stick of butter. Please don't tell on me. And I'm gonna put the 20-ounce can of crushed pineapple, but I'm using a fork to get it out so that I'll leave most of the juice inside the can. We won't put the juice in there. And then we're gonna add a layer of some brown sugar.
So are you trying not to use the juice? Is that what you're trying
Right.
to do?
We figured today.
Just get back. She seems like she gets stronger every time.
Watch the camera.
Yeah. Okay, now somebody check it and see how we're doing on the lumps. Are we getting most of the
There's
lumps
still some,
out?
well, not so much lumps, it's just that egg is kind of
Okay, you might need
sticking
to,
together.
yeah, use your fingers and sort of break up the egg, and if there's any like dry bits of the cake mix, try to get that mixed in too.
Well, that's what I start thinking when I start pushing on it, it might just be air.
Now I'm putting about a cup of brown sugar in here. You can add a little more if you want, or add a little less, but that's what I'm aiming
Putting the
for.
sugar in it keeps it from burning?
We're making a syrup layer. So it's the liquid and the butter that will end up making a syrup layer instead of the cake actually touching the bottom.
Oh, so when you said syrup earlier, you didn't really mean syrup.
Not pancake syrup, no,
Oh, okay.
but a
Not maple syrup.
a liquid, a sugary liquid combination.
Okay.
Maybe that's
That's really what the brown sugar does.
right. All right.
You
So
wanna
did
check
you
it?
put something else besides the pineapples
We
and
may
brown
need
sugar?
Butter.
Butter.
Now you can also put 2 cans of cherry pie filling in the bottom. That's really
With the pineapple
good.
would be good.
2 cans of apple pie filling in the bottom. 2
With,
cans.
instead of
Any of this. So you just use your cake
Oh.
mix
Okay.
and your canned pie filling.
And also that apple
You wouldn't
pie.
really
Did you
need
say
butter.
apple pie?
You put apple pie filling.
Yeah, it's got that hand.
You don't really have to use the butter, is that what you said?
Right, no, you would just, really, I don't even spray the bottom of the pan. Because you're gonna dip it out with a spoon. Okay, I can reuse my outer bags. This looks like, oh, you all did a great job getting that mixed up.
It was, I think, the distance that we
Okay.
got and it did the best.
So I just cut a bottom corner off. Oh, that is great. You did a really good job on that.
like that. You don't have to wash any hands in
No
that. I might start
bowls,
doing that.
no
Oh.
beaters.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you'll be out in your front yard throwing this cake around. Your neighbors will think that you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
Triple bagging can even stand up to Cub Scouts, so I think you can do fine on that. All right, we'll go ahead and put the cake on, and then we'll start on. This is just so much more fun. We did it first, and then we'll put our full packet supper together. So come over and look at the box, and we'll talk about making it after we get our cupcake over. So what this is a reflector oven. So we're going to put our heat source on the bottom of them. I use this pan because I do this a lot. But you don't have to have this pan. You would just put a sheet of aluminum foil down on the pan. And we're going to put, I think that we will put 14 pieces of charcoal on. And that you have that written down in your materials. You don't have to remember it. Let's make it count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4. And you want to spread them out pretty evenly so that
Those just bricks you have.
these are just bricks wrapped in aluminum foil, and the reason they're wrapped in aluminum foil is just so that the heat will. Yeah. And now, so the inside of this box is lined with aluminum foil. We're going to put it over the top. Now this is a fancy box oven because it has a window on the top. And that's made out of a turkey roasting bag. So it can hold up to the heat.
Watch it.
The heat is already lifting that up. All right, well let's get our supper ready to go on the rest of the charcoal, and then we'll talk about how you can make your own box oven when you get home. So we're going to check it in 15 minutes and rotate the pan so that if there is a hot spot or if it's not quite level, it'll even out. So if somebody will tell me in 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, start right now.
Okay. All right, since we probably shouldn't just have cake for supper, it's good to do some other simple things. So I'm going to use 2 layers of heavy-duty foil. If you don't have heavy-duty foil, I don't know if I can work from behind and talk to you at the same time. If you don't have 2 layers of heavy-duty foil, just use 4 layers of regular foil. You can make these in individual. We used to call those hobo dinners if you made those. But you can do a whole family size one in just one packet. That's what we're going to do tonight. So I took a small head of cabbage, this size, and washed it and cut the core out and did a coarse chop because there are many of us, we're going to have a little taste. If I were doing this for home, just for our family, or if you're cooking for 4, I like to cut the cabbage sort of in wedges instead. But we chopped it up today. We're going to put just a little bit of olive oil on the bottom. And then whatever is on the bottom is the most likely to sort of get the extra heat. And so I like to put the onions on the bottom of the pan because they sort of act as a buffer between our other foods. Now I know exactly how much it is worth to me for somebody else to cut up my vegetables. I know that on mushrooms it's worth 50 cents to me. If sliced mushrooms are only 50 cents more than the not sliced ones, then I buy them. if they're more than 50 cents more, I slice them myself. So everybody has to decide for themselves how much it's worth for somebody else to cut up your vegetables. And so this sliced onion was about 50 cents more than slicing up my own. But I thought for today, at IGA.
Really?
Yeah. So I thought for today that I would splurge and spend 50 cents on not cutting that up. But I cut everything else up myself. We're going to put our cabbage down next. We've got our onions on the bottom. And then, you know, on the rack in the back of the grocery store where it has produce that is nearing the end of its life, there were two beautiful yellow peppers, which normally cost an arm and a leg. But they still looked pretty good for today. And so that was a bargain. It's not a bargain if you buy something and then you don't use it, or it spoils before you can use it. So if you're looking at the those marked down, make sure that you're going to use it that day, or if it's something that you can cook and freeze, or do that. And then I have 2 lengths of turkey smoked sausage that we're going to put on the top.
That would be good. It'll be a different kind of meat.
Now hopefully I made my aluminum foil big enough, because if it didn't, we may have some leaking. Maybe we can do it. Now, there's probably not quite enough moisture in that. And since I'm fighting with my blood pressure, I'm choosing to not add any salt at this point, because there's a lot of salt in the smoked sausage. But you all are welcome to add salt when we're finished if you want. If I pour some water on here because I want a little bit more moisture, it's just going to run out the edges. And so I'm going to put some ice cubes on there so I can have a little more moisture in it, but it won't run out of the pan, out of the foil before.
Did you think that yourself as you do that?
Pinterest is a wonderful thing.
Yes, it is.
Now, we're going to do a drugstore wrap. A long time ago, when you went to the drugstore, they didn't have those little plastic bottles to put powders, and they didn't even have pills at that time. And so the druggist would wrap your medicines up in little bits of paper. But to keep it from leaking out, you see how I folded the edge over and then over again, so to flatten it out. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the ends. Tuck my little corner over to seal that corner.
Looks like you're wrapping a present.
And then, what did you say?
I said you look like you're wrapping a present.
Yes.
It's going to be so beautiful.
But you're going to wrap, you're going to fold that. You want to try to fold it at least 2 times, maybe 3. And then I'm going to come down to this end, fold my corners over. 'Cause I want all the juice that cooks out of our vegetables, I want it to stay in. I don't want it to leak out. So now there we go. We've got a nice packet, and we're going to put it on the grill over this charcoal. So we'll come back over here. And I'm going to try to get a bed of coals that is just about the same size as the packet, because if I've got too much over the edges, then that'll just be wasted heat. So you can use any kind of grill. This is just my most portable setup. So I've got my fire pit so I don't make ground to that. And then we're just going to put that right on top. If you don't want to grill, cook this in your oven. Put it on a cookie sheet if you want to do it in the oven. Because out here, if we get a little puncture and something leaks down, it's no big deal. But I really, really don't like cleaning my oven. So if I do this in my oven at home, I'll put it on a cookie sheet in case something.
You turn it on 350, or what do you think?
No, we want this one hotter, and I'm really hoping that the coals are hotter than that. In the oven, I'll put it on 450.
put it in the middle?
When you're doing a foil packet, you can put any combination of things in there that you want. What you think about as you're putting them in is what size pieces will cook in about the same amount of time. So if I put a big 3-pound roast in here with that coarsely chopped cabbage, the cabbage is going to be way overcooked before the roast gets started. So when you're doing meats, I cut the smoked sausage into quarters, into little discs, so that it would cook faster. And I cut the peppers into smaller chunks so they would cook faster. Now the famous one that everybody knows about a hobo dinner is the hamburger patty, sliced potatoes, and sliced onions. And so your hamburger patty isn't too thick, and you make your potato slices just thick enough so that they'll cook in about the same amount of time as that. So you can put any oh look, we're getting some smoke and starting to hear some steam already. That's great. This, I'm guessing, because that's it's not as precise over charcoal as it is in your oven, but I am guessing that this might be ready to taste in about 35 minutes. So our cake should get done first. If I want to try to just steam, I don't have to turn it, but I think since we've got such a thick packet, I'm going to flip that over.
And if you have to worry about it spilling because you folded it real good.
If I folded it up really good, then we shouldn't have any leaking when we turn it over. You can use, it'd be hard to use tongs or a spatula to turn this big pouch. These are welding gloves, and I got them from, we're not supposed to say names, Josh. I bought them from a discount tool store. So they may not be very good welding gloves, but they're great. They're great for this. And they were very inexpensive. I got 3 pairs for $10. So, and they're great for working around the grill. All right, so we're going to let that cook. We're going to let our cake cook.
So that means we get to have dessert before the entree.
Well, it depends on how patient you are. I'll give you the freedom to make that choice yourself.
9 minutes.
Now, having too much charcoal.
It burn out.
So the charcoal.
It will smother. And
It's not there that much.
it gets enough air that way. If you don't want to use bricks, you don't have to. You can use 4 empty green bean cans, something, anything that will hold your cake pan up. The nice thing about, to me, about the bricks is they don't let too much, they don't let a direct breeze go through because they're in front of that hole, maybe a couple of inches, so they let air in, but they're not letting enough in to blow.
You have like one hole on this side and one over there open, is that what you have?
Just the ends, the hand holes.
You see here carry the handhold.
Yeah, but it looks right here, looks like one.
There's holes in the box, and there really shouldn't be a hole in the foil there unless that punch went down through it when I was.
This one looks like, that's why I was
That
asking.
may
Are
be
there,
time
so
for me to-
there are, so is foil over all the holes or some?
Foil is over all the holes except the 2 on the end.
The handles.
If you have a box that doesn't have those, you just prop up the corner on the little rock, just so you get a little air going through to keep the charcoal. All right, so a lot of foil, duct tape, and a roaster bag, and that gets you set up. Okay, well, we're going to let things cook, and we'll look back at our. Keep as much in as possible. If today was a really windy day, we might have added 1 or 2 more pieces of charcoal because it's going to blow more of our heat away. If it was a really cold day, we might have put in a couple of things. But it really does not take a lot of charcoal to make a 350-degree oven.
That's interesting.
Is that it, Virginia? Are we ready?
No,
Okay.
that was a text.
So that was the message, huh?
That was a text.
Okay.
Somebody else that was supposed to be here.
Okay.
One thing on the foil packets that we do that's a favorite of ours, we like to grill. We always take chicken with us when we go camping. Chicken's one of our favorite, and legs because they're so cheap. And we marinate them and stuff and grill
Yeah.
them. But for our sides, we use the foil packets. Although I always do individual ones. I think I'm going to do something like that next time. But we do potatoes, onions, and carrots, and just slice them up. And the carrot, my kids, even when they were little, you know how finicky little kids can be. those carrots were like candy to them because they were so sweet after eating them, and they just loved it. So that's one of our favorite things to, with the olive oil and everything else, and you know, it's really good.
And you would just, the child would open it up and use a fork. Right?
Yeah, well, we usually would dump it. We would dump it on like a paper plate or
Okay,
something because we have a
okay.
chicken too.
Yeah.
But
That is one benefit. If you do the individual ones, you don't even need a plate.
yeah, that's
You
true.
don't need-
Yeah.
Just open it and
Just
serve
open it
out.
neat. Yeah.
You know, has anybody seen the 4 packets that they used to have?
Oh, the ones you could buy that were already a pouch?
Yes.
I haven't seen
I
those.
haven't. They've quit making those, and that was a bummer because, like she said, I would take my potatoes and do a packet also and just put it on the grill. Now you have to make it because they had those 4 packets, didn't they not?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Right now, Cracker Barrel is also doing full wrap.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And Bubby likes that.
Reminds me of when he was little.
He's a little humor.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Will it be done? Or do you need to?
No.
No, it won't be done.
Let me lift the box up. Or...
Yes, and the box, if you don't touch it in the pool, will not be done. So we know the top of the cake is not done. And with this, with that nice syrup layer on the bottom, there's enough liquid there that we should get an even bake, but we're going to rotate it anyway, just to make sure we don't have a hot spot under one part of the cake.
2, 1, 0.
All right.
2 minutes.
Ready?
Yep.
Oops.
Just get
You
one
can see
in
it
there.
kind of starting to get stiff on the top.
All right, so now let's check it in 20
Didn't seem very hot.
minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. I can feel heat coming out of
Yeah.
the
Oh,
end,
yeah.
though.
But I expected it
Oh,
to
the
be
box.
hotter when I, picked it up.
Heat coming out of it.
It's like you feel the heat coming from right here.
All right, well, now we just have to be patient. To relax and just wait. So the next page in your folder was Safe Food to Go, and this really wasn't written toward the individual because you'll see some things in here that it's more talking about the group and preparing for very bigger things. But food safety is really important for just your own little family, or if you've got 50 people at a family reunion, because we don't want anybody to go home sick and have memories of foodborne illness, or what we call food poisoning, because food sat out too long or wasn't kept at the right temperature. So we usually say you've got 2 hours. Food can sit out 2 hours, but in the summertime, if it's 90 degrees or higher, that shortens down to 1 hour. The food can be at room temperature on this side. So we want to make sure, first of all, that everything's clean, and if you're outside, if you're in your backyard, it's no big deal. You can just send everybody in to wash their hands. But if you're farther away, if you're at a park or you're camping, then you might want to plan ahead about how are you going to clean your hands. So I've got a couple of things. I do have some wipes to remove soil from my hands, and then I've got some sanitizing gel. Soap and water is always the best if you can use soap and water to wash. But if you can't, then make some other plan so that you won't get germs from your hands onto your food.
I just saw a neat camping hack today
Yes.
about washing your hands. Especially if you're primitive camping, if you're in a camper, you've got your sink and everything. But if you're primitive camping, it was take an old pair of pantyhose and drop your soap down the pantyhose, and then tie your pantyhose around the water spigot. So that way you've got soap right there all the time whenever you turn on your water, and you've got that. And I thought that was just the niftiest idea. I thought that was so
And it
neat.
doesn't get on.
No, it was on. Actually, it was on
Dry.
Facebook. I saw it. But yeah, that was just a neat idea. Cool.
And so if you and them don't do, like I've seen my children do before. You wash your hands, you get them nice and clean, and then
Yeah, you'd have to have some kind of towel or something. Yeah.
Well, you're saying you get them dirty.
yeah, you get them dirty again. You just wipe your hands off on your hands. Okay. So hand washing is the #1 way that we can keep food and ourselves healthy, keep food safe, and keep ourselves healthy. Paper towels, single-use towels are the best if people are sharing. And you know, some people wash their hands a little more thoroughly than other people do. Of course, we all grew up with cloth towels to dry your hands. So just make sure that if you're drying on a cloth towel that it is clean. It hasn't been used by too many people or by people who just give the germs a drink by sticking their hands under cold water and then wiping on the towel. Okay.
That's funny.
So that's got some more information on there. Thawing foods is really important, and using a cooler is important if you are keeping your food outside. Of course, if you're inside, just headed out the back deck to the grill, that's not a problem. We do want to thaw all of our foods in the refrigerator or in a container of cold water. Those are there are 3 safe ways that have been approved by USDA for thawing. Thawing in the refrigerator is the best and most recommended method. It does take time. If you're thawing that Thanksgiving turkey, if you've got a big one, you better get it in the refrigerator 5 days ahead of time so that it'll have time to thaw. It's great for grilling in the summer to make things nice and easy, to go ahead and have your meats in the marinade in the freezer, and then that morning or the night before, grab a packet out of the freezer, throw it in the refrigerator to thaw. Zip-top freezer bags are really good for that. So you can buy family-sized packs of meat when they're on sale, put them into the right amount. If you're cooking for 1 or 2, put the right serving size in there, or for a family, add your favorite marinade to that, zip it up, freeze it, and then it will marinate as it thaws, and then be ready to put on the grill. If you're going camping, it's really good to have your meats frozen before you leave home, because then they'll help keep the other food in the cooler cold, and they'll stay safe. Always use a clean plate. Like if you take burgers out to the grill and set them on the grill, you don't want to put the cooked burgers right back on that plate that just had the raw burgers. And don't just rinse it off. You can use the same plate, but you need to take time and actually wash it with soap, and then put your cooked burgers on that. A thermometer is a great thing. You can't really tell by looking at meat if it's done or not. Smoked meats are naturally pink, and so if you're just looking at color, you would smoke meat a lot longer than you needed to, because it would still look pink. If you get smoked meats in a restaurant and you cut into it and see that it's pink, especially pork, turns very pink when it's smoked, but it should be done. But use a thermometer because you can't guess, and it helps me to use a thermometer because I always look at it and I think, I'm not quite sure if that's done. I'm going to cook you another 10 minutes, and then it's not good anymore because I've overcooked it when it's tough. So using the thermometer helps me to not overcook it, and it can also help you to not undercook.
And that's a good idea when you're camping, because a lot of times you're doing stuff and having
the dark.
fun, and exactly, and you don't start really cooking until it gets dark, and then I know oftentimes Tim's out there with a flashlight,
Right.
cooking, and so that's a good idea.
And an instant read thermometer is inexpensive. You can get one for several
Real good
dollars at the dollar store. Put that in your picnic kit or in your camping kit. And the magic numbers are 40. Cold food should be kept under 40. Hot food should be stored over 140, and then 165 is the middle of the road on meats. So a roast could be a little less than that, but we want all poultry and all pork products to be cooked to 165 degrees. Okay, then you've got some fire safety tips. This is written from the viewpoint of working with groups of kids, but it's really good for your own family too. Never start a fire until you have a way to put it out. So what do you think my way to put the fire out if we needed to was? We would sacrifice our ice water, but we have a container of water here ready if we needed to, so it's handy. You can also have a shovel if you're somewhere where you don't have access to a lot of water, so that you could smother the fire out. Never start a fire until you have a way to put it out. And just just be careful around fire. Be prepared for minor burns if you think that might happen. So you've got some burn gel. And the best thing to do with a minor, now these are minor burns. This is not a serious burn where you should go to the emergency room, but a minor burn. To immerse it in cold water for 5 whole minutes, not just until it stops hurting, but for a full 5 minutes, because that'll let all of the layers of skin cool down. If you just get the top layer of skin cooled down, you take it out of that cold water, then the underneath is still cooking. And then you can, you don't want to put ice on a burn though, because that can cause more damage to the skin tissue. So cold water is good. All right, you all know I'm just sort of killing time now while we're waiting on.
What's it say having baking soda?
I was just gonna ask that.
Baking soda is a way that you can smother out a fire. So my favorite story about Jim cooking, when we first got married, he would get home before me, and I have to have my hands to tell this story. He would get home before me and he'd start on something. So one day I came in the front door and I could see all the way to the kitchen. And there he is at the stove, and there are flames going almost up to the ceiling. So he was making, I think, hush puppies, but he did, the grease had splashed out into the drip pan. Okay, he knew you should smother a fire, and so he takes a pan lid and he puts over the burner because the grease was out in the drip pan that was on fire. So he was going to smother it. But that happened to be the vent from the oven, and so there was air still coming up, and so when he lifted off the pan lid, the flames went all of it. And so I got the baking soda out of the refrigerator, and threw it on that, and that smothered it out. If you put water on a grease fire, it will make it explode. So baking soda, other powders like flour and salt don't work.
Did you know, here, did you know you can leave an iron skillet on the electric stove all night long on high?
Oh, sometimes they break. Did yours break?
No, it was just bright orange, just like the element. I woke up and does. Except for the hand.
So you were very lucky. I have Wendy Curry's grandmother's cast iron griddle that Caroline left on the stove, and it's split. You know, that's why she gave it to me, as to show it's the proof that cast iron is not indestructible. If it has a flaw, when it was cast, if it has a little flaw in it and you overheat it, and a lot of people say, oh, you can just throw a cast iron skillet into the fire to burn off the carbon buildup. But if there was a flaw inside that when it was cast, then it would break and burn. And you can't tell from looking at it. Cast iron's wonderful. I love cast iron. So, what? Oh yeah, cornbread. You can't make good cornbread in anything else than cast iron. So, how many of you have cast iron?
I do, but I hate mine.
You don't like
I
yours?
don't. And I don't know if it's because it sticks. Everything sticks on it terrible. But see, I wasn't raised around it.
Oh.
So I don't know how to fix it all up so that it doesn't,
What do you
supposed
cook
to.
in it most often?
I don't.
Oh,
You
okay.
want to know?
Go ahead.
Telling
Kel.
myself? Okay.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
use mine as a double boiler. I put water in it
Okay.
and then put another pan in it when I need to cook something slowly, so it doesn't scorch. I do it that way. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not terrible. It's not terrible.
I've tried
What
to cook
it's
other
doing
things in it, but it
is
just
all
always
of the
like,
seasoning is gone out. Because when you boil water in cast iron, it
like
washes
strips
out.
it, yeah.
Cast iron is porous. It's like a sponge. It doesn't look like a sponge, but it is. And when you heat it, the pores open up. And so a well-seasoned cast iron pan that is shiny and black is one that all those little pores are completely filled with a solid fat. And then that's making the non-stick.
And when you wash it?
If you wash that, if you put that in the dishwasher, and I have seen people do that, it's going to take every bit of seasoning out, and then it will rust.
I didn't put it in the
before your eyes.
dishwasher, but I washed it.
So if you want yours to bake in, you'll need to go through the seasoning process, because the boiling water in it, which is not bad for it if you dry it and then you don't let it rust, but it was washed all the seasoning. I use as little dish soap as I can. Now, if I'm making something sticky in my cast iron, I wash it, do a little bit of soap. But if I'm doing cornbread in it, I don't wash it.
Plop it out.
Drop it out.
So I can't remember. I think I made chicken in it or something, and I mean the bottom of it. I had to take a metal spatula and just scrape it to get it. And I thought, this is ridiculous. I ain't using this thing. You know, that was too much work to get it to be able to use it again. So I have it. It's actually part of decoration.
Oh, okay.
So I keep it on my stove all the time, and then so.
If you want to season it at some point, because I'm assuming there's no rust on it because
No,
you
I don't
probably
think
dried it
so.
out really good. A solid vegetable shortener, like Crisco, type of it. And you put a thin layer inside and out, and you put it in a slow oven, 200 degrees, and you let it stay there a couple of hours. You turn the oven off and just let it sit. And then the next day, you do that again, and you do that heating, cooling, over and over to get all those pores filled. And then bake cornbread in it a few times, and don't count on being able to eat the cornbread and by then it should be ready.
So if it rusts, if it has rust,
It's not dead. No, it's not too late. But you have to get the rust off. So my mother had a big cast iron kettle that she had in the front yard with dirt and flowers in it for 40 years. And so, do my math. 15 years ago, I decided I wanted to cook in that kettle. So I dumped all the dirt out, and we did this after Thanksgiving dinner. My dad and my brothers are standing there, and they're laughing at me. I had safety goggles and a power drill with a wire brush on it. So when I got all the dirt dumped out, then I started on the rust with that wire brush on the power drill. And so they're standing there laughing. They said, "You're never going to get that clean." So I worked on it a long time with the drill and the brush. I got all the visible rust off. Then I filled it up with water and I built a fire under it. And I let it boil really good and I dumped it out. I did it again and I dumped it out and did it again. And then it was looking pretty good and they said, "Okay, you got it clean, but we're not eating anything." Then we made hominy in it, made with lye. And so, do you all know how to make hominy? So hominy is made out of dried corn that's soaked in a lye solution to dissolve the outer husk of the corn. And then you wash it. My grandmother said you had to wash it through, I'm really killing time now, wash it through 7 changes of water to get all the lye off. And then you cook it, and hominy is basically cooked popcorn. Except with popcorn, that hard kernel just splits open, and with hominy it dissolves. There is a nutritional advantage to hominy over plain corn because the process of the interaction with the lye made more of the amino acids, proteins in the corn available for the human body to absorb. So cultures that just figured that on their own as a way to use dried corn in the winter without having to grind it up, then they actually had a nutritional advantage over other cultures that didn't figure that out. So no, they didn't know, but the cultures that developed that naturally, they just had a nutritional advantage over other cultures.
It seems like I've read, if you cook in an iron skillet, certain things like tomato, when you get, does the iron?
Iron can do, well, yes, so acidic things will sort of eat away and hit the iron. But it's actually, if you fry an egg in an iron skillet, you're going to increase the iron content of the egg, and then that's a nutritional bonus. The problem with the acidic things like tomatoes is that it makes pits in the iron actually dissolve it away, and then you're
Also, it's not just tomatoes, it's just whatever you
Anything.
cook in the iron skillet. If you cook eggs or hamburger,
then some of the iron's going to transfer in the food, so that's a good thing. But if you put tomato sauce in it and you set it in the refrigerator, you leave it there for days, that acid is going to eat it away. You know, if you make lasagna and you put aluminum foil on the top, put it in the refrigerator for a couple of days, peel that aluminum foil off, it's got little holes because the acid has dissolved.
18 minutes.
18 minutes.
120.
Okay, and then we're gonna check it at 20, and then we'll see how long we need to go. All right, let's finish up with our.
Because she said that all the germs get behind, saturated in the iron. And she would always preheat it. She said if you preheat that skillet, it'll kill some of the germs in there.
But she's right. A well-seasoned iron skillet is not conducive to bacterial growth because there's no oxygen.
So that's why they make stainless steel.
People are always looking for something better and lighter and easier. But I love cast iron. And you can't make,
Especially with the cornbread, you can't go wrong.
and you have to preheat your skillet before you put the cornbread batter in it.
So you think it's really safe?
I do, and I haven't seen any research that says that cooking iron skillet is not. And I have seen research that says that bacterial growth, in the underneath layers it's not conducive to bacterial growth because there's no oxygen. And germs are sort of like us. Most of them, not all, like oxygen. Botulism does not. Okay, so then grilling is probably the outdoor cooking that I do the least, but it's the most common for the average person, and there are lots of different kinds of grills. How many?
20 minutes.
Okay, we're going to check it, and we're going to see, then we'll flip over our board and we'll check our cake. All right, our cake, it's looking good. I'm going to pick this up real quick, and you look, and I'm going to put it back down. It's not done yet, but we're going to look at it real quick. Okay, it's cooking, but it's not done yet. And we might actually put a few more coals under it if we check it in about 10 more minutes and it's still not done. All right, let's see if I can flip this over.
Boy, those gloves are handy.
They really are. So I can smell that this is cooking. My goal for this is for the cabbage to be steamed and not mushy. So we'll see. So 10 more minutes, and then we're gonna check and see. We can cook directly on the charcoal in a foil packet, but you have to be more careful with that, because if you leave it on there too long, you can burn through. And now I'm just guessing that this is close enough to do our cooking. All right, 10 more minutes.
So Martha, how's your new job?
I think that you're almost yeah. I'm gonna
Like dry cake, right?
swipe some O's, put it in there.
Here's a cake I made. It's called a hot fudge cake. And you make the batter, but then on the top you sprinkle brown sugar all over the top of it before you bake it, and then put hot water over it.
Caramelizes.
Yeah, it does, and it makes the hot fudge. When I first read the instructions, I thought maybe it was, hey, printed this or something. That's what it did.
Yeah.
We may have to eat our supper before our cake. It's done.
Oh yeah, that's better.
Well, if you make the cake batter just like you would a normal cake or whatever, But the trick to making the fudge is that at the
All right. Woo, this is hot. I want to try to just. We're just gonna. If it's raw cabbage, we're just having raw cabbage. I feel like.
I am.
All right. Certainly is hot in there.
help.
I think it's done.
We'll let Josh get a good picture of it before we. So it looks like our cabbage is nice and done and yummy. All right. Well, come on up, and Virginia's here first, and she's been our official time. Ooh, this is hot enough to burn your fingers.
I'll take them around if you want.
We can empty off this other tray. People will get their own steps though if they come up.
Yeah, that's true.
It's going to be a run on banana boxes. You're going up there and say, you're like the 5th person that's come in and asked for one.
Oh, and it is, the cake is done all the way through. Okay, get a few more steps and come up here and get your cake. You're welcome.
Did you throw away a banana box?
And it smells. I think that's not too soupy on the bottom.
Stoke up from mowing the lawn tonight.
What did you say,
I
Chad?
have to stoke up from mowing the lawn tonight.
Oh,
Before it starts raining again. Thank you.
So I always get her input. It's always so interesting.
Yes,
So much.